Good morning, all. As we enter into this virtual service, please note you have been muted by our host. If you wish to speak during announcement and/or joys and concerns, please go to the participants icon, click on the raised button. A blue hand will appear by your name. When Susan calls on you, you can then hit the Unmute Me button and speak. Click on lower hand button and the Mute Me button when you are finished. Remember, do not unmute yourself until Susan calls on you. Thank you. School Prayer by Diane Ackerman. In the name of the daybreak, and the eyelids of morning, and the wayfaring moon, and the night when it departs, I swear I will not dishonor my soul with hatred, but offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, as a healer of misery, as a messenger of wonder, as an architect of peace. In the name of the sun and its mirrors, and the day that embraces it, and the cloud veils drawn over it, and the uttermost night, and the male and the female, and the plants bursting with seed, and the crowning seasons of the firefly and the apple, I will honor all life, wherever and whatever form it may dwell, on earth, my home, and in the mansions of the stars. Andy will light our chalice this morning. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lit the flame within us and the community. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind you to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with Jan or Mary and as loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. So let's sing the opening hymn, All Are Called, by Kimberly DeBus and Kaya Hartwood.
All are called to this moment. All are called in many ways. Hearts knit strong by compassion. All are called to this day. Some are called to speak.
What a beautiful song. Thank you, Jan. That was just wonderful. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you have joined us this morning. As a Unitarian Universalist community, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation inviting speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak in our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest to our community that connect with us and within the UU7 principles. Today's service centers around the sixth principle. We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. As naive or impossible as the sixth principle may seem, we should not give up on it. In the face of our culture's apathy and fear, we should imagine and help create a powerful vision of peace by peaceful means. Liberty liberatory means, justice by just means. We should believe and live as we believe, that a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all is possible. There is no guarantee that we will succeed, but we will improve ourselves and improve the world by trying. My name is Diane DeMarco, and I am your worship associate this morning. And I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you have joined us this morning under these challenging circumstances. If you are not on our mailing list, please visit our website at www.uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. And a reminder, if you wish to see this or any of our past Zoom services again, recordings of these services can be found on the UUCC website and Facebook as well. The membership committee invites non-members to consider becoming a member of our community. Please contact Janet Cooper or a board member if you are interested. Thank you. After the service, Andy will be available for a question and comment session. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. Let us now recite the affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for any short announcements that would be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. For any items that need more explanation, please call or email the person after the service to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand button near the lower right of your participant's window. When Susan calls your name, click the unmute me button near the lower left of the participant's window and then speak.
Diane, did you have an announcement?
Oh yes, I wanted to announce that we do have one opening left to fill on our board, and it's for 1 year from January to December of next year, and it is for secretary. And we would encourage anyone who might be interested in filling that position to contact me, Tom Harris, or Art Gillingham. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Kat, would you please unmute yourself and share your announcement?
Okay, thank you. We are collecting blankets, jackets, and scarves for the unhoused, the local unhoused population here. in Cambria, of course, and just looking for anybody that has a used blanket, a used jacket, men's, women's, children's, it doesn't matter, or a used scarf. And would love it if it could be cleaned, because I just spent, 4 hours at the laundromat doing what I've been given so far. So would love it if you could have it clean, and then just get a hold of me on my email, katmadama@yahoo.com, and I'd be happy to pick it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Nancy and or Robert, would you please unmute yourself and share your announcement?
Oh, am I talking now? Okay. I'm Nancy. That's Robert. Our Moving Towards Racial Justice Committee, our discussion group, will be talking about this book, Why I'm no longer talking to white people about race, by Rennie Edo Lodge, on October 14th at 7 p.m. Everyone's welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Mike and Sue Davis, would you please unmute yourself and make your announcement?
I'm announcing for the UU Cares Committee, and we'll be calling everyone to check in again. And also, we would like to get your ideas about the opportunities for us to be connected together. So take a look. We sent out an email on September 3rd. If you could look at that again, and then we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And Anita, if you would please unmute yourself and share your announcement.
Hi, good morning. I have an announcement about Joyce Veron. I called her yesterday and she's still at the hospital. She's still at Sierra Medical Center, and they haven't found a place for her yet because of her medical conditions. So please, if you have time, write her a card, or she prefers that you don't call her. So I think cards would be great. And I don't know how long she will stay there, but cards will be welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Mary Ann, if you would please unmute yourself and share your announcement.
Yeah, this just occurred to me. I heard from Martha Gomez-Mora. She was one of our scholarship recipients a couple of years ago. She's studying from home. It's a very, very crowded home with 3 families. She's looking for somewhere, a private room somewhere that she could come and study from about 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. If anybody knows of any place that she could just come and plop her computer down and study, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
And I suppose whoever should contact you, Mary Ann? Thank you. And thank you everyone for your announcements. Diane?
Next week, we will hear Killing for God by Dr. Stephen Schwalbe, possibly related to someone we know and love. Today, we are welcoming 4 new members into our community who have chosen to make a commitment to this congregation by signing our membership book. Rebecca Hendricks, Marcia Walters, Cynthia Stengel, and Michael Armstrong. Unfortunately, Cynthia and Michael cannot be with us this morning. The membership chair, Janet Cooper, will lead the new member ceremony.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everyone. New members, we are so glad to have you here with us and that you have chosen this community of fellow seekers to travel with you on your life journeys. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? Will you add your name to the long history of Unitarian Universalist women and men who spread hope with our living faith? Will you engage with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice? Rebecca, please unmute yourself and respond.
Thank you, Janet. I, Rebecca Hendricks, will honor these requests made of me.
Thank you, Rebecca, and welcome to the UU community of Cambria. Marcia, please unmute yourself and respond.
I, Marcia Walters, do respond and I will do these requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia, and welcome to the community of Cambria. We also welcome Cynthia Stengel and Michael Armstrong, who are unable to join us this morning. The congregation that's in the sanctuary actually will now read the response along with me. Please, everyone read along, but leave yourselves muted, as this technology does not allow for group responses.
Okay, ready?
We welcome you into this congregation. We promise today to do all we can to make this a place of warmth and sustenance for you, a religious community where you will find acceptance, challenge, encouragement, and love, and even have some fun. May we work together to embody our Unitarian Universalist principles, both within our congregation and in the wider community. Welcome.
Thank you all for participating. That concludes the new member ceremony.
All right, we should get a bite of that soon. Please select speaker view in the upper left of your screen. Sharing some of our personal and significant joys and concerns brings us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as a part of your personal life. But please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship with us this morning. This is a time of community building. The collective flames of these candles also embody all the joys and sorrows which may have gone unspoken today, but are deeply felt in this community. Our first reading is from GA 2020 Program Guide from Garner Takahashi Morris, convener of the Right Relationship Team. Right Relationship during General Assembly. The goal of the Right Relationship Team is to support General Assembly, GA, participants. In a community of this size, we are blessed to have so many perspectives and experiences in one place. And when the inevitable happens and our trust and faith in each other is broken, we will do our best to help rebuild it together. It is hard work to stay in right relationship, and it matters what we do and say to each other. Oppression is a reality of the world that we live in, and so it's present and active in our community as well. It takes all of us to realize the transformative potential of this community. If one person is hurting, we are all hurting. By the same turn, with each moment of learning with grace, we grow as a community and as a religious movement. If we cannot learn in this gathering of beloved people, then how can we ask it of our world? And so as a team, we ask it of you. Have challenging conversations with each other and help each other to grow. Let us enter a place of peace and serenity where you are one with your spiritual being. Be at peace within your space where the absence of all that is temporal is its most cherished gift. Let us enter the stillness. Please come back now. Our second reading is from the program book of GA 2020 by Christina Rivera and Alex Capitan. General Assembly Practices for Fostering Multicultural Dialogue and Community. During General Assembly, we gather to build relationships, which requires a commitment to remaining present to issues of power when feeling challenged. A covenant alone can never be perfect, nor lead to perfect behavior. Community requires practice. During General Assembly, you are invited to take these practices to heart and to speak from your truth while acknowledging your privilege. Number one practice, honor multiple truths. Your viewpoint, opinions, and actions have intent and impact. In cross-cultural interactions, your intent may be to speak from your truth and not cause harm. However, if you are not also invested in the other person's truth, then they can experience the impact as harmful. This is particularly true when people with white privilege see their opinion as the universal experience, which leads us to the second practice. Consider your social location. Each of us holds multiple identities with respect to race, class, ability, gender, sexuality, age, and more. Depending on where we are and who we are with, sometimes we are in a position of power and privilege. Sometimes we are dispowered or marginalized, and often there's a mix. Recognize your power and notice the power dynamics around you. Practice using your privilege to create more space for those on the margins. And finally, the third is to practice care toward yourself and those you engage with. With thousands of UUs gathered, the one universal truth is you are going to have difficult conversations this week. Practice care. If you're in a position of privilege, practice letting go of assumptions, taking your cue from the other person, sitting with your discomfort, and or pausing to consider how to process the conversation. If you have one or more marginalized identities, you may want to assess how much spiritual energy you have to give to the conversation. End a conversation by asking the other person to check in with an accountability partner and or seek out care for yourself. Either way, consider finding your people for accountability and or support. Find the right relationship team if you need help. Andrew Feigin, his friends call him Andy, discovered Unitarian Universalism in 2008 at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington, New York. Realizing that he had found the spiritual home he had been searching for, he signed their book shortly thereafter. In 2013, once he and his wife Mimi began living in Cambria part-time, he signed the book here at the UUCC. As a part of his search for deeper meaning as a UU, Andy has attended 3 General Assemblies. The first in 2012, which took place in Phoenix and was entitled Justice General Assembly, and focusing on human rights violations taking place at the border with Mexico. During that GA, he joined with over 1,000 attendees in a march to the border, where Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio oversaw the infamous Tent City Jail. Arpaio was convicted in July of 2017 for criminal contempt of court and pardoned by President Donald Trump on August 25th, 2017. Today's sermon reflects all of our UU7 principles and is titled Rooted, Inspired, and Ready, a report from GA 2020 by Andy Feigin, Andy?
Thank you, Diane. And good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
These are very special and challenging times. We're doing so much virtually. In fact, Randy's going to transition us to a website in a moment where videos of many of the sections of GA 2020 can be accessed. How lovely that we call the realm of the internet the World Wide Web. It's almost as if a Unitarian Universalist had come up with that name. Very special and challenging times. Just a couple of days since we remembered the tragedy of 9/11. We're in the age of the COVID pandemic. We've got dreadful fires burning across the West. And we're experiencing re-energized calls for racial and social justice and struggling with deep political divisions. It's important to find ways to be lifted up. At General Assembly this year, Dr. Issei Barnwell and the UUA General Assembly Virtual Choir did just that with a performance of We Are.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
In rare moments, one has the opportunity to go back to your roots, to be amongst people with whom you actually share DNA. like when my family traveled to Israel for our son Ben's 13th birthday. In a similar way, that same feeling comes while attending Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly. In the case of GA, it's not your biological DNA that's shared, but your spiritual DNA. Normally, in attending General Assembly, you experience what it feels like to be surrounded by a couple of thousand other UUs, folks who share a very important aspect of their lives with you, surrounded by so many loving people, full of positive energy, caring, and passion for a better world through our chosen faith. More than ever, inclusivity is a dominant theme with the UUA and GA 2020, reflected that both with the topics discussed and debated and the procedures designed to welcome and encourage participation by everyone. More than just making an effort, GA and the UUA have embraced harnessing the power of love to end oppression with a call to break down divisions, heal isolation, and honor the interconnectedness of all life and all justice issues. It's a high bar, and attending GA is a constant exercise in walking in others' shoes, appreciating what it means to be everything anyone might be. This year, GA was originally scheduled to be held in Providence, Rhode Island, at a convention center which stands on what was once Mashpee Wampanoag tribal land. The welcoming celebration began with a drum and dance ceremony performed by members of that tribe. The ceremony was the first of many reminders of our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, especially those people who our culture of white supremacy has marginalized. If the terms white supremacy and white privilege make you uncomfortable, you quickly learn that you have work to do. Earlier, Diane read the General Assembly practices for fostering multicultural dialogue and community. These practices were at the core of GA this year. Again, great emphasis was placed throughout GA on heightening awareness of embedded forms of racism, ableism, and oppression, and how they impact our UU community and the larger world community. The welcoming ceremony celebration continued then like a worship service with music, readings, prayers, a homily, and a benediction, featuring a UU superstar lineup of speakers. It was followed immediately that evening by General Session 1, led by our GA co-moderators, Alondria Williams and Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve, who are elected to those positions and would appear throughout the week. Here are some excerpts from their letter included in the program book, which capture the spirit of the gathering. They say, "We are so excited to welcome you to our first ever all-digital assembly. More than ever, now is the time for us to come together as a faith community and proclaim and live our values into the world, a Unitarian Universalism rooted in liberation, justice, compassion, care, and collective change. Our faith has the power and potential to provide many people with a place of harbor, and General Assembly is our time to practice the best of what this religion has to offer. As UUA President Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray has said, this is no time for a casual faith. We are in need of transformative and radical change in our world and in Unitarian Universalism. Our denomination is blessed by all of those who are leaning into the challenges of this moment and embracing the possibilities for transformation. We are grateful for the guidance of the Commission on Institutional Change and for opportunities to revisit the core tenets of our faith, such as through the establishment of an Article 2 Commission, which will review the important bylaw section that includes our 7 principles and 6 sources and our statements on purpose, inclusion, and freedom of belief. Get ready for possibly an 8th principle. We are in a time of pandemic, social movement, and transformation, which is just as much about who we want to be as individuals as it is about who we want our communities to be. We invite you to bring your whole self to this General Assembly. Be ready to be uplifted, transformed, inspired, and resourced to go out and fundamentally shift our world. Be ready to help shape our governance and decision-making so that it is ever more in line with our UU values and theological understandings, and ever less about critique, competition, and lack of trust. Be ready to dance, sing, laugh, cry, pray, meditate, reflect, and learn from powerful speakers and presenters. We understand that going virtual will be harder for some and easier for others. We encourage you to reach out to the amazing IT staff and volunteer tech supporters who are making all of this possible and are here to support you. Thank you for helping us make this GA and this governance of our faith successful. Quite a letter. General Session 1 was gavelled to order, had a remembrance of UUs who have recently passed away, which was followed by an introduction to the chaplains who would be available for consultation during the GA, a presentation by the Right Relationship Team appointed to deal with issues any attendees experience in which they were made to feel uncomfortable, disrespected, or harmed in any way, or marginalized based on their identities, always a challenging task, and perhaps even more so with GA taking place in a virtual realm. This committee reports throughout General Assembly, citing instances that have been brought to their attention. They provide healing for those who feel they've been mistreated, and for all attendees, a deep dive into heightened sensitivity to the multitude of ways we may behave hurtfully without even being aware. Learning from their work is central to the overall experience of GA. The first general session concluded with a vote to adopt updated rules of procedure. Some nuts and bolts of General Assembly and virtual General Assembly, and then I'll get into a couple of the workshops I experienced. Everyone attending GA had to register online and pay a registration fee of $150. Those of us who were to serve as delegates for our congregation had to go an extra step in order to become credentialed for voting at the general sessions, where the business of the UUA is done. With Triva's backing, I served as a delegate for the UUCC. The UUA offered pre-conference onboarding webinars where you learned how things were going to work. And all attendees were sent a PDF of the 84-page program book, which is the Bible for GA. It includes an essential 1-page summary schedule for all 5 days of events. Once registered, you were given a link and a password that allowed you to enter the participation portal. This was the home base from where everything happened. It looked like this. You can see the speakers window there in the middle. To the left are a list of tabs you can go to for various sources that related to GA. On the upper right, I took a screen grab. At this moment, a vote is taking place. So as you can see, you can vote pro or con or abstain. And eventually those votes would be tallied and they'd show the results. Down in the lower right, there was the discussion tool. That was specifically for discussions of amendments from the floor, where folks who were for or against a proposal could speak. And then in the middle, right under the speaker's window, is a chat room. There were actually numerous chat rooms. You could bounce around into various ones. They all had cute names, and see people commenting on what was going on, asking questions. They were very active, scrolling the whole time during GA. Based on the schedule, you would log on to the participation portal in anticipation of a session. There'd be music playing and slides with general information, and then at the designated time, the session would begin. Various leaders, moderators, and staff would appear in the speaker window and take us through the agenda. When it came time to debate proposals, people would line up virtually in the proponent, concern, or amendment and procedures queue. Pro, con, amendment, and procedures. We could see the names of folks in those queues, and if they had prepared a statement ahead of time, it would be available to review on the screen. When recognized by the moderator of the session, they would appear in the speaker window and state their case. If there were folks in the amendments and procedures queue, the moderators would always go to those folks as soon as possible. Once there were no more concerns or amendments to consider, a voting window would appear and we delegates would vote virtually. The process would sometimes get bogged down, technically or simply because someone forgot to unmute themselves. We know what that feels like. Sometimes there were delays and awkward pauses when connections stalled or something wasn't switched correctly. Apologies were made and we moved on. There was a technical team behind the scenes doing the best they could to make it all function properly in this brave new world. In any case, things improved as time went on. Computer servers were added to manage the heavy load of data that had to be processed, and most everyone remained patient. In truth, the business of GA during these virtual business sessions ended up being more streamlined than I've experienced in previous in-person assemblies. It seems this was partly due to changes in the rules of procedure that had been put in place for 2020, and perhaps because of the virtual nature of the process, fewer people chose to speak. Business proposals to be voted on by the General Assembly were printed in the program book ahead of time. The first was a proposal titled Embodying Human Rights in Our Investment Decisions, the purpose of which was to ensure that investments by the UU Common Endowment Fund, UUCEF, not be in, and the words are highlighted there on your screen, not be in corporations that are consistently, knowingly, and directly complicit in egregious human rights violations. It was passed by a large majority. And there were two proposals amending the UUA bylaws, one regarding co-moderator vacancies and one regarding timelines for the nominating committee. I jumped ahead. Timelines for the nominating committee. These last two proposals may sound familiar to those of us who've been working on updates of our own UUCC bylaws. Beyond these proposals, a very important aspect of GA are proposals called Actions of Immediate Witness, or AIWs. Those are submitted to the Commission on Social Witness, CSW. This was, after all, a UU event, so there's lots of acronyms. Those are submitted to the CSW for presentation to the Assembly. An AIW does not carry full authority of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Rather, it expresses the conscience and carries the authority of the delegates present at the GA at which it is passed. AIWs reflect social witness, defined as the act of courageously affirming what is just and good through speech and action that demonstrates solidarity with those who are mistreated or that imagines and articulates social justice or collective liberation, end quote. Some of this year's AIWs were entitled Address 400 Years of White Supremacist Colonialism, Amen to Uprising, a Commitment and Call to Action, The Pandemic, a Religious Response, Amend the 13th, End Slavery and Perverse Incentives to the Prison Industry. Another one called George Can't Breathe, but We Can Vote. Another one, Thanksgiving Day for All Peoples. And finally, End the Use of Facebook and its subsidiaries for any church business. The CSW chooses 3 AIWs, which get posted online through the participation portal and voted on during the 5th General Session. If approved, these AIWs guide the focus of UUA and UUs throughout the year going forward. These AIWs are often the most contentious issues the General Assembly grapples with. So that's a glimpse into the business and policy work at GA. Then there are the religious and congregationally oriented sessions, dozens of them to choose from each day. This is just 2 days worth. So, based on your interests, you pick which workshops you'll attend. You register for those online the evening prior and find a Zoom link in your inbox the next morning, just like the one you used to get on this morning's service. On Thursday, I chose Faith Forward, a Path for Engagement. The presenters pictured here offer a program congregations can subscribe to, designed to help nurture future leaders within their congregations. If you look closely, you'll notice that this workshop began at 7 a.m. Pacific. I was in my sweats with my just woke up face and a large mug of coffee at my side. The session had about 250 attendees. It was okay to turn off your video camera. The presentation looked pretty much like the one I'm giving right now. After their introduction, the leaders asked the following question. If you had all the volunteer leadership grounded in UUism that you could wish for, what could you do in your congregation and beyond? Then they announced that we were dividing up into virtual breakout rooms of 8 people to discuss the question. Suddenly, I was virtually transported into a Zoom breakout room. Gulp, I zippered up my hoodie sweatshirt, fluffed my hair, and turned on my camera. At first, the 8 of us all just looked at each other in silence. And then I said, I guess we're supposed to talk about something. That broke the ice, and the discussion began. We introduced ourselves and set off on a good discussion around the question, feeling the UU bond we shared, even though gathered virtually from across the nation. At one point, one of the leaders popped up, asked how we were doing, listened in as we continued our discussion, and then exited. With 256 attendees, there would have been around 30 breakouts to check on. Eventually, we were merged all together again, and the session was concluded. I've previously met Reverend Dr. Galen Gindrich and heard him speak at his congregation, All Souls Unitarian Church of New York. He's a great thinker, great writer, great minister. So Friday morning, it was an easy choice to attend his workshop, Get Ready to Transform, Gratitude as Spiritual Practice. At that session, Reverend Galen stated, spirituality, in my view, is not mainly about me. Rather, it shifts my awareness from focusing mostly on myself as independent of other people and the world around me, to focusing on how I am connected to everyone and everything else. Spiritual experiences move beyond my own experience in the present, what I happen to need or want here and now, to an awareness that I am an inseparable part of a larger whole. In this sense, spirituality opens us to a deep awareness of life's most profound reality, which is this: everything is made up of relationships. Everything in the universe is made up of relationships. Galen continues, and hang on. In a culture that continually touts individuality and self-reliance as defining virtues, and increasingly understands spirituality in self-referential terms, it's a counterintuitive claim that we are defined not by how we are independent of the people in the world around us, but how we are connected to them. Yet this claim happens to be true. He concludes, in a world where everything is made up of relationships, the only way to stay healthy, whether physically, economically, or spiritually, is to stay focused not on who we are in isolation from everyone and everything else, but who we are in relation to them. That takes on even more meaning in this time of socially distanced relationships. And now I have only scratched the surface of GA. There was so much more to it, and so much more than any one person could possibly take in. I've not mentioned entire programs such as the Young Adult Program YA at GA and DRUM, the diverse and revolutionary UU multicultural ministries. There was a poignancy throughout the whole event. Though most everyone was missing the hugs, the hallway chats, the simple humanity we're all longing for lately, special moments transcended the separation. While staring into your computer screen, you'd be drawn in. You'd lose yourself, your physical self, and become one with the virtual spirit of life that bound us together. One such moment came when Dr. Glenn Thomas Rideout sang Linda Hirshhorn's Circle Round Freedom. Please let it take you to that special place. Randy.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release.
having recently achieved the status of grandfather, the words resonate deeply. For the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Thank you.
I'm grateful that we are in relationship with you, Andy, who's brought us such a beautiful presentation here today.
Thank you, Andy.
Normally at this time, we receive offerings from our congregants. However, due to the virtual format of this service, we invite you to make your offering in one of the methods shown on the slideshow. These methods will also be posted in the newsletter and on the UUCC website itself. Please keep in mind that our congregation is entirely self-governed by the democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are invited to participate in the blessing of giving by sending us an offering. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. Now let us sing the doxology.
From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land by every tongue.
Please join in singing the closing hymn, Meditation on Breathing, number 1009.
I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love when I breathe in. I'll breathe in. I'll breathe out love.
us recite the valediction. There I am. The flame of this chalice will no longer burn today, but the light of the flame within our hearts continues to shine brightly, illuminating the love felt in our community.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yay.
After the benediction, please move your arrow to the top right of your screen and click the gallery view button. Andy?
We talked about this, I think, in the worship committee, but maybe if we all just reach out to the sides of our screen, we can feel the connection. Not allowed to touch each other's hands, but here you go. This is from our gray hymnal, number 706, Kathleen McTeague wrote, "May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of our world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move."